Notre Dame, Wisconsin. This game is Saturday at Soldier Field at high noon, 11 local time there, and Wisconsin's favored by 6. What do we think about this? Because I don't think a lot of you saw that coming in the preseason. What do we think about this? Interesting dynamics in play. It's like a whole dynamics game. Because the post-game win probability metrics tell you Wisconsin's undefeated. But the scoreboard tells you otherwise. It says they lost in week 1. They did. I'm not going to go through the box score again, but it was one of those games where Wisconsin, they outgained them. First down edge was insane. Time of possession edge was insane. The yardage edge, all that stuff. But turnovers cost them a game. Inefficiency in the red zone cost them a game. Well, that means what? Well, it means they're a one-loss team. But from a dynamics standpoint, Notre Dame also was on the ropes in week 1, but they happened to win. And they've been on the ropes again since then, but they've happened to win. But from a, again, future thinking standpoint, from a forward-thinking predictability standpoint, the records are thrown out like Wisconsin's the better team. Like that's what they're telling you. Even with one loss, they're the better team. Notre Dame has not had to pay the price for their ineffectiveness yet. Wisconsin has. That's what I'm telling you. And from a dynamic standpoint, that puts Wisconsin backed in to the corner, Badger and all. They are the wounded animal here. They are in must-win mode. They're the one in desperation mode. There's still a safety net under Notre Dame. There is not under Wisconsin. Jack Coan is going to be talked about a lot this week. And unlike some cases where the storyline crowd just has it all wrong, I think Jack Coan actually is the most important player in this game. The one-time Wisconsin quarterback now piloting the offense for Tommy Rees and Notre Dame. I would not be surprised. Well, and you know what? I take this back. I started to say it the wrong way. I'd be very surprised if Notre Dame has a ton of success on the ground. And because of that, it's probably going to be on Jack Coan. If they move the ball offensively, it's probably going to be on him. Stands to reason he is the quarterback. Now, the good news is if we were just running 7-on-7, if we were just running skeleton here, there are some plays to be had on that Wisconsin secondary. Jack Coan is good enough to make some of those plays. He's had some good numbers this fall so far. Here's the bad news. I don't know how much time he's going to be given, which is why that passing on early downs, 3-step drop, quick slant game, the screen game, it's going to be imperative. They got to manufacture some loosening of that box early on, early downs. And they've also got to establish some rhythm and tempo and actually move the ball a little bit. Because what we don't want to see here is we don't want to turn this game on and there's 2 minutes to go in the first quarter and it's just been 3 series of 3-and-outs for Notre Dame. Because if that happens, it's going to be hard to settle in to anything that even reeks of rhythm for them. So that's important on early downs, early in the game. But this strange shift has started to happen. I felt it this week. If you have listened to anyone talk about this game, you've probably felt it this week. A lot of people have looked, as I just did, at Notre Dame's relative inefficiency offensively. And just as a team overall, they've looked at them and they've said, that's not going to work against Wisconsin. Afraid not, guys. Even some Notre Dame fans feel that way. And so I get it. Like, there's a lot of validity if you're looking at Notre Dame in a vacuum. But can I ask you this? When in the world did Graham Mertz all of a sudden become a quarterback that everyone is tripping over each other to cast their lot with? Graham Mertz has been bad under pressure so far this year. Like, this Wisconsin offense, I'm kind of disappointed in because I thought they'd be more than they are. So I'm telling you, I agree that the right team is favored here. I'm about to give you my prediction in a second, but there is no ton of confidence to be had picking Wisconsin in this game, even if you've got a model like we do that's going to lean solidly one way or solidly the other. This is going to be a game where one bounce of ball play could be the difference in outcome. This is not some offense that is waiting to strike. You're not going to see the Graham Mertz of week 1 against Illinois last year, in other words. Or if you do, it's going to be something different than we've seen so far this year. So if we were to flip the week 1 results, what would the line look like? If, let's say, FSU were to make one more play and they beat Notre Dame in overtime, it wouldn't mean the teams are any different. If Wisconsin has one less turnover against Penn State and they win in week 1, the teams wouldn't be any different. A couple of plays would be different. The record would be different. But the quality of teams, as it relates to this Saturday, they wouldn't be any different. Point spread would. I think the point spread would look a whole lot different. There's a lot of perception, I think, baked into this line. And I normally want to be contrarian with that, but I can't do it. Because I also think that through 3 weeks now, I don't think it's just random happenstance. I think Notre Dame has shown us who they are. And when teams do you the favor of showing you who they are, you need to believe them. Do yourself a favor and believe them. So let's take a look, Jesse, at what the model says. And I'm going to tell you, it says that Wisconsin is right to be favored as much as they are. So I actually sent Jesse a wrong number. I see it now. Wisconsin is favored by 6 in Vegas, true enough. Our model actually has Wisconsin by 7, not 4, as it says on the screen. And I agree with that. There's not a ton of confidence, by the way, behind my pick because of Graham Mertz, but I agree with that. I think Wisconsin's got more edge here. I think they're going to own the line of scrimmage a lot more. I think Wisconsin's going to win the game, and I actually think they're going to cover in a matchup that ends up feeling a whole lot like Penn State versus Auburn last week. There was never a time where Penn State's pulling away, but the cumulative effect of incremental margins over the span of 4 quarters gives you a 28-20 win, and I think that's kind of the final that you're going to see here, somewhere in that range with Wisconsin having enough edges. But that game at noon, very interesting. I'm all for it. I love the early games, but most of you don't. I get it. But we'll take Wisconsin to win and Wisconsin to cover.